Hey y'all, I'm Ralper, and welcome to Skyrim Scripting. This is part of the series where we are learning how to create SKSE, or Skyrim Script Extender plugins in C++. Now this is one of the very most important episodes to watch early on. As soon as you start creating SKSE plugins and running them in the game, you're going to want to know, what is my plugin doing when it's running in the game? And the best way to answer that question is with log files. So please watch this episode and we'll get you up and running with how to write to log files very quickly and easily. But then also check out the episode on using log viewers. One without the other isn't very useful. If you write to these log files and then open them up by double-clicking in Notepad, you're hurting yourself. Please don't. Please don't. If you're just writing a little bit of information, that's fine, but please install an application that will actually watch those log files and in real time print out what they're displaying, give you color highlighting and things like that. So let's get started. If we go to github.com/skyrimscripting, we'll find our way over probably to some types of templates. We'll see it may have changed between recording and when you're watching it, which is why I'm kind of following through the links. Go ahead and check what's in the video description. But we'll find our way to the C++ templates repository. It has the Hello World template, which we've done, and it also has one for writing to log files. So you probably want to go ahead and clone or like use this as a template, whatever you want to do, this logging one, because it's already set up for logging. Although it's set up to also demonstrate a couple different ways of logging, and it has an annotated file for logging. So one of the things I did was I added a little section that just shows you how to take another mod, another SKSE plugin, and add logging to it. I'm going to take this Hello World actually and go to my GitHub desktop. I might already have Hello World. Let's go ahead and delete it. Changed Hello World to bytes. Close it. Delete it. Almost like I just tried recording this episode before. Let's go ahead and pull it down fresh. And open it up in your favorite editor of choice. I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. Let me wait for everything to load up. And everything looks happy and loaded. So of course, plugin.cpp is our main C++ file that has our stuff in it. We haven't really walked through it yet, but I'll say this stuff in the middle, you can just delete. And this stuff is what's required. I don't know when I'll kind of walk through this. You kind of don't need to know what those 4 lines of code do. You just kind of need to know that you need that stuff and you need the stuff below. And you put your stuff here. You put your own stuff in the middle. And so for logging, let's go to the logging template. And it says that if you want to do logging in your own mods, you could just use this template, the logging one. Good. Or you can apparently just copy this logger file into your own mod, include it, and call a function from it. Or, much simpler, you can just copy the contents of this file, paste it at the top of your own plugin CPP. Let's start with that. So let's open up this file. This file says, this is a snippet you can put at the top of all of your SKSE plugins. I can update it and say below is a snippet. I should make it more obvious that this right here is what you're supposed to copy. And of course it says, then it gives us a reminder of something to do. We have to call this function, otherwise nothing will work. So it wants us to copy this into our CPP, to our C++ file, and that's all we did. We just copied and pasted from a file. If you read this, you'll be terrified. So just don't. I'm never, ever, ever going to expect you to fully understand what's in this code. You're never going to have to be a good intermediate SKSE plugin developer. It'll be great once you understand shared pointers and all kinds of stuff. You don't need to know that. You can just collapse that and pretend that it's not there. Then if we follow through the instructions, it says what we need to do next is call setup log inside of our SKSE plugin load. Our SKSE plugin load is this, right? Blah, blah, blah. and it wants us to call this. So we just do this. Boop. That's it. Control S, save. Bam, done. Now you can use something like logger, info, we did it, semicolon. Okay. Just add that, save. And if I go into my mod organizer 2, I shouldn't have any projects except for address library. If I refresh, there's nothing there. So I'm going to go ahead and build this with F7. And just like in the Hello World episode, of course, I set this up to automatically deploy to my mods folder for mod organizer 2. You could do that for Vortex, or you could have it automatically go out to your data folder as well. So this was called Hello World, so it shows up right here as Hello World. Okay, cool. So if I run this in theory, I'll get a log file. Where does this log file even go? Well, it goes into your Documents, My Games, Skyrim Special Edition folder. If you're in Mod Organizer 2, you can use this little folder guy here and say My Games. It'll take you directly there. Otherwise, in File Explorer, if I close these, you'll just want to go to Documents, My Games, Skyrim Special Edition, or Skyrim Special Edition GOG, and your SKSE logs will show up in here. Logs has the Papyrus logs, and of course you should definitely enable those, but that's outside the context of this. So if I run the game, we should get an SKSE folder in here. Bam, it's right there. And inside of it, bam, Hello World. Right away, we did it. Cool. We did it, we did it, we did it. Let me just show you how to, first of all, we're going to run the game a couple times. So I'm going to use, I'm going to go to Skyrim scripting. I'm going to download the stop mod really quickly from releases. Does it have a download button? I need to add a download button for it, so that whenever the SKSE plugins all load, what it basically allows me to do is this. If I delete Hello World and I run this, runs the game and then closes it right away. It just runs it and closes it, runs it and closes it. It has its own log file, which I should get rid of. It doesn't need a log file. It's stupid. Okay. So in our code, let's do this. Let's do logger : Okay, we should get some completion. And what we really care about are these. These ones that say warn, trace, error, debug, critical, and info. These are the different levels at which you can print out logs. Now, you don't have to care. You can say foo, and then you can just as equally say error, foo, and you can just as equally say, debug, foo. You don't have to care. You can use info all the time. The only time you would want to care is if sometimes you want the log file to contain a smaller amount of information. A good example might be when you're doing local development, you want thousands of lines being printed to the log file. But then when you release your mod on Nexus, you want your users to see less logs, like enough that it will help you debug their issues, but not like all the nitty-gritties. I will in a future episode show you how to create an INI file that will allow your users to configure the log level for themselves, which will be really useful for collecting debug logs so that they can share their logs with you when they have issues with your mod, with your plugin. But so how does this work? Well, I need this documented on the log template. I haven't done that yet because you don't say logger set level or anything like that. This behind the scenes is using speedlog. I'd love to maybe wrap this somehow so you don't have to use speedlog, but it's speedlog set level. And then it needs a level enum log level. To do that, you say speedlog level : and then here's all the different levels. So you can say we only want errors and above. So if I set the level to error or then info won't print out. because it's not as harsh. It's not as important as an error. Error will print out. Debug won't print out because it's not as important as an error. So what is this level of importance? Well, the lowest level is trace. These are trace messages, just like little teeny bits of like, hey, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And you can litter your code with trace logs if you want to. Slightly higher than that is debug, so some debug information. Then general information. Then warnings, errors, and then critical failures. Like this normally you would use right before crashing or exiting Skyrim or something. This is something's broken. This is like, ooh, warning. This is just generic info. This is very commonly used for everything, basically, and lower levels of information. I hope I got this right. If I didn't, I'm sure you'll tell me in the comments. Logger critical, yeah. So that's one thing. First, let's show you the levels, but then I want to show you how to formatted log strings. So this error, knowing what we know now, let's actually say info. The log level is info, and so we should get the error. Say this is info, error, debug. We shouldn't get debug. Let's hit F7. Cool, let's run mod organizer 2. Mine will exit really quickly because I used that little stop mod thing. And here we go. It's got the info and the error. We can prove that this is all working by getting rid of that set level just entirely, rebuild the mod. And as soon as it says it's done rebuilding, we'll go into mod organizer 2, we'll run it, and we'll look in our file again, open up hello world, and we can see, oops, come on, save, build. It's like it knows I'm recording. Info, error, I wonder what the default is. Oh god, I set the default to info. I should set that to trace and update the sample. Yeah. It wasn't writing. It wasn't writing. I think that was the issue. I'll have to update the template. Let's find out. Run. These are the things we discover, ladies and jelly spoons, when we are teaching. There's all 3 lines. Cool. Note to self. Let me actually update that in the template right now. Hey, look, I fixed it. I fixed a thing. Thanks to teaching. Woo, oh yeah. All right, the final thing is how do you print out information? So let's say that you have a sweet roll. It's a sweet roll, man. It's a sweet, sweet roll. And I'm not going to actually play around with getting a real sweet roll here. We'll do that in the game objects episode. And so let's just say I have even just auto text equals sweet roll. Okay, so for some place you get the text sweet roll. And we say number equals 69. So maybe you have 69 sweet rolls, whatever. You're logging out some information. And so what you do is, and let's even say auto form ID equals 20. Or here, let's do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Logger info or whatever. You can say hello, right? But then if you want to print out some information, we can say the text is, and maybe use single quotes or something because you're within double quotes, or you could do /double/double if you want in double quotes. The important part is you use these curly braces, open and close curly brace. And what's super cool is this is a compile time thing. If I add these curly braces, I automatically get this red line that says it's angry with me because it wants me to pass along an argument. So I'm going to pass along text. What can say the text is? Let's just roll with that. Let's save. I need something that will run Model Organizer for me. Let me do that. Okay, here we go. I'll delete that hello world. I just built it. Let me run Model Organizer 2. I just click the button that runs it in the background. Hello world. The text is sweet roll. Okay, cool. What if we want to do more? These are yellow, orangey underlined because they're not used. Let's logger info. Number is, and you could just say number. Oops. And what's cool is and form ID is will become red again because it knows when these are here through magic that it's expecting another one. But let's do the form ID on a separate one, or we could do them together, whatever. The number is number. Logger info. The form ID is, now here's an interesting one. Now this is a hexadecimal number, and so this would print out the decimal representation, form ID. Okay, but we can say end as hex. What you do is inside of these little curlies, you put a semicolon and X, and then you can say form ID again, or you could just use it once, whatever. You know, this one maps to this and this one maps to this, whatever. You say the form ID is, however you want to do this. Then it knows that this is going to be a decimal that it should print out as a hexadecimal. So watch this. It should print out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But here I will also do a decimal. You can see the difference. Now let's build that. As soon as it builds, run the game. Go into our folder. And here we go. The form ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the hexadecimal. The decimal apparently for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is this, but who cares? And the number is 69. Finally, the very last thing I want to point out is one gotcha, which is you might find yourself wanting to build up a string like this. And so if you take this line right here, the number is blah, and make this a variable, cut format or whatever, call it format, auto format equals. It's angry, super angry, because it wants this to be constant. If I try and build it, it's going to be angry. It's going to be so angry. It's not going to build. If you want to do something like this, I think the best workaround is standard format number, and then so like output that you want to log, and then you have to use, you can't just say output, you can't just pass a variable to this. You want to pass a single variable to logger, you have to do quotes with the little curlies. Let's try this. Build. What I just did, you'll either never encounter or you will encounter. Like, I guess if you have a number and you want to log it, you want to just print out number, FYI, you need to put these little curlies, although you really shouldn't just print out number, right? You should say number equals or something that'll be more useful when you're debugging. So here we go. And I ran Model Organizer in the background. And let's go back to our folder. my games, game special edition, and then look at this finally. Hello world. There we go. Number is number, blah, 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 blah. All right, it took a little bit, took about 5 minutes longer than I wanted to, but I showed a couple of little gotchas. I hope you're set up and ready to go. Check out that logging template. And don't forget, please, 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 don't forget to check out the episode on log viewers. Because once you start logging things, opening them up in Notepad each time is really annoying. You'll see Notepad and be like, why didn't it print out? And you forgot to close and open up Notepad because Notepad doesn't update itself. Check out log viewers. And in the meantime, happy mining, everyone. I hope you enjoy this SKSE series. Happy mining.